So just give me 1 second.
Okay.
I feel like I have the wrong presentation up.
Oh, gosh. It looked right, so actually, yes, you have that, they are, I think they might be in the wrong order. I
So,
can
what
just-
I'm doing is just
Do they stay here and do the
making
rest?
sure.
I sent her my
Typical day.
revised PowerPoint last night, so I think she pulled up the old one, that's probably why
I
things
teach
are
the old one
out
class,
of
the
order.
wrong class, and the company. Wait a minute, this isn't this class.
Amy, I have a thumb drive, you can just pop the presentation up here.
I have it, I have it.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
So you're saying PowerPoint's not your forte? And he's only running the advanced back when.
Yeah, exactly.
Very fortunate because Amy and her group of very talented individuals make these beautiful PowerPoint slides for me. So all I have to do is send them the information, they make it look pretty, which was not always the case. I used to have to do my own, so it's really nice to.
Mine never looked
have
ready.
that. No, well,
Just
mine never,
words.
yeah.
You know what's just amazing is the textbook companies right now are, for the instructors that give, they already prepare a PowerPoint from the textbook, and when you buy the whole backup deal, it's right there. Just
Oh.
to take the print.
That's a great idea.
That's great.
That's very nice. No, no.
It's really neat.
No, it's
I
really
mean, you
not.
get chapter 1, you get the whole PowerPoint. It's so annoying. Gotta buy the right textbook.
Pay the premium price for the extra
These
goodies.
students have to pay like $130 for that.
Oh,
Whoa.
Or there's some schools that they have their own books and you have to buy that book
Yeah.
for that class. Those-
It's really
I
hard.
remember those days, and then you sell them back for $12.
Yeah, for like,
Yeah.
sell them back to the other student for 85.
Right, that's exactly right.
Or the
Yeah.
bag. And
That's
then
a
you buy the used one for full price.
That's
Those are
right.
the bag economics major for a while.
And that started Amazon.
At one of my
Yeah.
classes, like, professors.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How's it going, Amy?
This is the one, so
Okay.
just tell me where to go.
Okay, still on the right.
This is one.
All right, move forward, one more. There, I think we're there. Nope, next one. That was monitoring. I already talked about monitoring.
One more.
Okay, there. No, I think that's the right one. That looks like the right. Okay, there we go. Up, go back. Stop. There we go. Stay right there, just for a second. So the Sacramento River Watershed Portal builds on the portal platform developed for managing, for other instances, including the California estuaries, the San Joaquin Regional Monitoring Program, San Joaquin River Real-Time Management Program, the Bay Delta Live, and DWR 1641 interactive reporting tools for California. Data is managed at the regional level and then shared with all stakeholders for larger watershed assessment and analysis so that we can mutually benefit and learn from each other's efforts. Go ahead, next. Okay. The majority of the watershed, Sacramento River watershed, is rural and often lacks the information, technical expertise, and other resources they need to be effective in addressing local concerns and issues. Data management is a time-consuming and technical task that burdens many organizations. So we're working with stakeholders to gather and digitize key data and information that includes GIS layers and maps, assessment data, plans, projects, and programs, and then we combine them with tools for stakeholders to aggregate, contribute, store, analyze, share, and communicate important information about their watershed management efforts. Next. All right, that's it. I hope we can move this little thing up here real quick. I'm not gonna try.
I've done it.
Okay. The Sacramento River Watershed Data Program gathers and displays information from dozens of collaborating agencies and organizations. This transparency encourages strategic prioritization of projects, reduces redundancy, and helps achieve synergistic watershed level restoration benefits. Simple and, let's see. Okay. That's data dashboards, right? Yes, good. Simple and intuitive data dashboards aggregate this data and information and show real-time conditions and allows users to monitor conditions and efforts throughout the watershed. Next. Data stories. Data stories provide a whole picture of an issue or topic. The images here are from the Mercury data story that was created within the Sacramento River Watershed portal. Data story is the full integration of all the tools available. So from GIS maps, live data from CDEC, from wikis, document libraries, and then modeling of current conditions. This data story explores the sources of mercury in our environment, and let's see, yes, and then shows where the sources are located. It dives into data from the water quality monitoring programs in the Sacramento River watershed, and then includes contextual explanations of the mercury issues and efforts to resolve it. Next. By improving data access, the Sacramento River Watershed Data Program is developing tools to better link landscape level planning efforts with watershed planning efforts. Implementing restoration efforts across the entire landscape increases the range of benefits, including improved infiltration and groundwater storage, restored flow regimes, reduced sedimentation, and enhanced water quality. Numerous assessments of the challenges, needs, and opportunities for advancing landscape level efforts identify accessible data and information, and decision support tools as a dominant need. A recent study by the U.S. Forest Service Fire Sciences Laboratory found that implementing small, randomly placed fuel reduction treatments across 20% of the landscape had almost no effect on the spread rate of large fires. But implementing small but strategically placed treatments across the landscape, across 20% of the landscape, can actually halve the spread rate. Next.
Is that QLG? Sounds like QLG. Was it the strategic?
Well, I'm sure what they were referring to was the breaches.
Yeah, but they were targeting specific areas in QLG for,
Oh, yeah.
But their great claim to fame was the stopping a fire with that bridge, the blow-up bridge calamity.
Yeah. The Sacramento River Watershed Data Program engages stakeholders on a web-based platform to gather information about priorities, project locations, and more. The Sacramento River Watershed Portal aggregates data across many stakeholder websites and databases, and then presents information in a comprehensive user interface. It provides easy management and display of shared watershed assets, including documents, reports, images, videos, GIS shapefiles, data sets, and more. It establishes the foundation to link regional and state and federal priorities, provides tools to support the prioritization, implementation, and monitoring of watershed planning and restoration efforts, and links numerous stakeholders and project managers working throughout the watershed so that data and information is available to everyone where they need it and when they need it. So I'm going to let Amy go ahead and, like I said, show you through the portal. She's created some data stories specific to some of the issues that we read through the Upper Feather River RWMG. So if you have any questions while she's going through this, she's going to show you that data and information too. So I would go ahead and ask questions, and hopefully Amy, you can hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to give a brief
Do the volume a little
introduction
bit.
of what the portal is, what all content and data is on the portal, but I won't get into all of the catalog. But the portal is organized based on the premise of catalog. So there's projects, there's documents, data stories, data catalogs, wiki catalogs, etc. And you can explore each one of these catalogs by clicking in through the main navigation. So if you're searching for important data or information, reports, images, or anything in your sub-region or region, or even if it's system-wide for the Sacramento River watershed, you can use this catalog here. This catalog is compliant with all of the open data initiatives happening within the state of California. So there's the Open Data 1755, it's about open water data, open operations data, species, etc. So the catalogs speak to each other. So if you're familiar with data.gov, which is the main data.ca.gov, which is the main catalog right now, that all of this information is available, or will be available through a feed to that, so they're not creating or reducing duplication. And most of the heavy lifting is done within the region itself, so all of the grassroots or stakeholders are actually participating in adding relevant data and information from the bottom up rather than from the top down. This catalog itself, if we were just to just do a search for Feather River, returns about 90 maps, images, plans, and other information that is relevant to your watershed. You could go ahead and click this map results and it will geolocate it for you, and just an easy way of finding out what's happening. And each of the catalogs is like that. So this is the project catalog where we have over 450 watershed-wide projects and lots specific to the Feather River. So if you're wondering what's going on, just go ahead and simply add Feather River, do a search, and we get these return results, and you can map those as well, and that will go ahead and start to geolocate these data. Now this is just a way of accessing information via catalogs, but what is working for all of the stakeholders is actually creating either subdomains or these channels, like a television channel, where all of the information is ported and organized just based on the subregion and its needs. And then once that's established, then being able to look at system-wide what's happening, whether it's for water quality, water supply, infrastructure management, project management, then that piece comes a little later. So what we did is we went ahead and we created a project for you. So if you just go to data.stackriver.org and you click on projects, right here and first in the list is the Feather River data dashboard, and I'll dig into that. But other things that we have are like Shasta Dam operations and what's happening with the salmon runs in relation to Shasta. We have information about mercury and the Sacramento River watershed, Battle Creek restoration, the Sierra Meadows Partnership, Sierra Fund, what's happening with Sierra Nevada Conservancy with. We have this extensive story on Lake Almanor water quality monitoring. And you can see down here that there's many, many pages of good data and just stories about the initial effort that we finished earlier on late last year for the State Water Resources Control Board that was orchestrated, and all that work was done through the Sacramento River Watershed Monitoring Council. So she has a council, and all that work was done through that effort. So your watershed is a beneficiary of all this, and we wanted to share with you everything that we aggregated and were able to lay out that's available to you now as part of the larger effort. And we will start right here with Feather River current conditions. So this pulls data from web services, and we work with pretty much all of the state's major databases, whether they're monitoring, so from the CDEC database, which is the flood management control, to CMIS and NWIS is the national USGS monitoring. We do CDIN, which is the environmental monitoring. The coordinated monitoring programs are all live databases that the state uses or the states have developed, and we access that data via web services. So we're not hosting, and the data is current, and the data integrity stays and the stewardship stays within those agencies themselves. So whenever you load a dashboard like this one here, where we're displaying reservoir storage for the last 30 days, it's current up to the last hourly 15-minute from whenever the data was last reported. And these charts draw for every 30 days, and they update every day so that the data is current for you. And we've gone ahead and we've mapped all of the information that we currently have within the portal for fuel moisture, air temperature, precipitation, water temperature, and flow conditions. And they'll just go out and map. You have about 10 to 12 flow stations within the region. And once those load, you have this information in a hydrograph, and then you can also go ahead and print it and or download the data. So everything that we do, the data is accessible for download and use it internally for any needs that you may have, whether it's your GIS system or some analysis for project management. Next, we have just a data dashboard that goes out and grabs the most recent flow conditions at the stations that I recently grabbed, and it's in a simple format of basically at these key stations within the Feather River, this is the current flow value. And the reason I show you this is that this is a data widget that can be mixed and matched with all of the other different data types that we have. So if you're only interested in reservoir conditions or flow conditions or temperature or species, or we have the ability to move these around and put them with other data value or synthesize specific data types that are of interest to your project, whether it's for monitoring or if you're just keeping an eye on current conditions or you're trying to get an overall view of what's happening in the system. We went ahead and we built out in Oroville, based on the recent incidents with the Oroville Dam, we did an Oroville data story, and we are mapping all of the data and information. So it just gives a basic overview here of Lake Oroville and reports out the hourly data for the outflow loads. The map has all of the FEMA flood zones here in pink. The cities are in purple, and the major roads, and then the State Water Project reservoirs here in red. And the circle size is based on storage capacity. So you can imagine that the back end of all of this, we have all of these GIS layers available to mix and match and make saved maps to tell a story, and this story is about Lake Oroville. Next is the Sacramento River Coordinated Monitoring Program. There is a decent amount of monitoring happening through this program, and they go out monthly. And you can see here, this is from pretty much the beginning of the monitoring program through the end of January of last year. They update this about every 6 months to a year, depending upon the program itself. And this gives you what's happening with all of the different analytes. So we have ammonia, lead, mercury in the Feather River, and that goes out and grabs that data and it plots it here on the right. And each one of these values here are interactive, that you can go ahead and look at that and then find the time series right there at that particular location. The Feather River GIS, this is just giving everyone a basic overview of all of the GIS within the region. And so we went ahead and we made these lists, and we have everything from wetlands to current fire perimeters, fire intervals, tree surveys. You can see right there we have about 9 times this is 90 GIS layers that are specific to the Feather River region. And I just loaded principal areas of mine pollution, and the mine pollution all has metadata behind it, and then you can see this table below where it gives the specific information. And as I roll over it in the table, you can see in the map that green dot where you can get exactly what's happening at that mine location, whether what type of commodity it has, gold, peat, if it's active, if it's not surface. You have all of the jurisdictional dams, the lines for roads. Each one of these data or GIS layers are available right here on the left-hand side for download. So if you have an in-house GIS team, or you just need to run something or some geoprocessing in-house, you can download this and use it. And so this continues on for 90 layers, from farm mapping to all of the disadvantaged communities data. This restoration grant tracking map is more of a statewide effort map that we've developed to keep track of what's happening with Prop 1 and 84. You can zoom in to your area of interest and get more information about what those projects are. And this map was built as part of another project, and it's an example of that once something is done either in the Delta, the San Joaquin, or for the estuaries, or anything having to do with the DWR project, that each one of these data portals or the platforms, they get the benefit of that data and information. So all investments made throughout the entire state of California is shared back with the original, or with all of the other portals, even though they're separated out by content. Next, we have the groundwater monitoring, and this just digs into the current groundwater monitoring locations within the Feather River region, and it's complemented with the Sierra Nevada meadows and the depth of groundwater levels and the Bulletin 108 groundwater basin. So these polygons right here are just showing you the polygons within there. And then what we've done here is we're graphing all of the surface water elevations and for each of the Sierra, or the elevations in the Sierra Valley, so you can look and interact with this data, and you can also download it based on the two stations. The Upland Forest and Ag Land Stewardship Municipal Services, just the next few tabs here. What we did is we just separated out important data and GIS that fell into those categories. So right here, we're looking at all the Upper River Earland projects, and these are linked directly to the featherriver.org website. So you can go ahead and look at those and click on one, and it takes you to the featherriver.org website. You can start to map all of that with the farm mapping and monitoring programs, and then you have the groundwater basins. And basically, we just set these little views, or we segmented all of these different types of GIS that might be useful for ag stakeholders or upland and forest stakeholders or the municipal service stakeholders. So this was just done in a way of helping sift through the hundreds of data layers that are currently available in the region for use. So here we have the hydroelectric plants, the disadvantaged community block groups, points of diversion, and more. And so all of these are interactive and available for download. Also for floodplains and water bodies. We have a tab here where we're just laid out all of the documents that are in the region that may be of interest, whether it's strategy papers, Feather River Safe Swim assessments, your Earland project updates, planning unit documents, CWPP. So this is a big list of all of